Have you ever wondered why your brain can turn one small moment into hours of thinking? Today we're breaking down why overthinking happens and how to finally step out of the loop. Let the duck explain. Have you ever replayed a conversation long after it ended? You analyze their words, their facial expression, that tiny pause before they answered. Then the questions begin. Did I say something weird? Were they annoyed with me? Should I have answered differently? The conversation has been over for hours, but inside your head, it is still happening. Imagine there is a tiny control room inside your brain, and sitting inside that control room is one very anxious duck. The duck has one job: protect you. Whenever something uncertain happens, the duck starts pressing buttons. What do they mean by that? Did we make a mistake? What if everything goes wrong? At first, this feels helpful. You believe that if you think about the situation long enough, you will eventually find the perfect answer. The perfect explanation, the perfect decision. But instead of finding an answer, your thoughts begin moving in circles. You are no longer solving the problem. You are experiencing it again and again. That is overthinking. And it often begins for a very understandable reason. Your brain hates uncertainty. When you know exactly what is happening, your mind can relax. But when something is unclear, your brain tries to fill in the missing information. Why do they sound different? Why haven't they replied? What if the meeting goes badly? What if I choose the wrong option? Your mind wants certainty. The problem is that life rarely gives us complete certainty. So your brain begins creating possibilities. Possibilities turn into worries. And worries turn into entire imaginary stories. A delayed message becomes, they must be mad at me. A small mistake becomes, I'm going to lose everything. One awkward conversation becomes, they'll remember this forever. Your brain is not doing this because it wants to hurt you. It is trying to protect you from being caught off guard. It believes that if it imagines every possible bad outcome, you will somehow be prepared, but imagining pain in advance does not always protect you from pain. Sometimes, it only makes you suffer through situations that have not happened and may never happen. One major reason people overthink is the fear of making the wrong choice. You do not simply want to make a decision. You want to guarantee that you will never regret it. Should I stay? Should I leave? Should I send the message? Should I wait? What if I regret speaking up? What if I regret staying quiet? So you compare every option, then you compare them again. You search for more information. You ask other people what they would do. You imagine 5 different versions of the future. But every new possibility creates another question. The more important the decision feels, the more certainty your brain demands. But some decisions cannot be made with complete certainty. You can gather information, you can think carefully, you can listen to your values, but eventually you still have to choose without knowing exactly what will happen next. Overthinking promises certainty. What it usually gives you is exhaustion. Maybe you grew up around unpredictable reactions. A small mistake could lead to anger. A normal question could start an argument. Someone's mood could change without warning. So you learn to pay attention to everything. Footsteps, silence, the way a door closed, facial expressions, tone of voice, how long someone took to respond. At one point, noticing these details may have helped you feel safer. You became very good at detecting small changes. But the same habit can follow you into situations that are not actually dangerous. Now, a short text message feels threatening. A tired expression feels personal. Someone needing space feels like rejection. Your nervous system says, pay attention. Something is wrong. Even when the other person is simply busy, distracted, tired, or dealing with something that has nothing to do with you. This is why overthinking is not always just a thinking problem. Sometimes it is a safety problem. Your mind keeps analyzing because your body has not fully learned that uncertainty does not always mean danger. Overthinking can also come from perfectionism. Perfectionism is not simply wanting to do a good job. It is believing that mistakes reveal something terrible about who you are. When every mistake feels like evidence against your worth, your mind becomes obsessed with preventing mistakes. You rewrite a simple message 6 times. If someone dislikes your work, maybe you are a failure. You avoid starting because you might not do it perfectly. If a conversation becomes awkward, maybe there is something wrong with you. You replay what you said, searching for the exact moment you embarrassed yourself. But perfectionism gives you an impossible job. You are trying to control how everyone sees you. You are trying to predict every consequence. You are trying to eliminate every possibility of embarrassment, rejection, or regret. No human being can do that. Not even a highly intelligent duck. Sometimes overthinking is an attempt to control uncomfortable feelings. You believe that if you can understand exactly why you feel bad, the feeling will disappear. So you analyze it, then you analyze the analysis. Why am I anxious? Should I be anxious? What does this anxiety mean? What if I never stop feeling this way? Now you are not just anxious, you are anxious about being anxious. Instead of allowing the emotion to move through you, your mind surrounds it with questions. That can make a temporary feeling seem much bigger and more permanent than it really is. But not every emotion needs to be solved. Sometimes sadness needs to be felt. Sometimes fear needs a few quiet minutes. Sometimes disappointment does not contain a hidden lesson. Sometimes it is just disappointment. Thoughts are not always instructions. Feelings are not always warnings. And discomfort is not always proof that something is wrong. Another common form of overthinking is replaying conversations from the past. You remember what you said. Then, 3 hours later, your brain suddenly gives you the perfect response. You imagine saying it flawlessly. You imagine the other person finally understanding you. Or you search the memory for proof that they secretly disliked you. But your brain is reviewing the conversation with information you did not have at the time. Of course, you can think of a better response now. You are calm. You are alone. You have had hours to prepare. But the version of you inside that conversation had only a few seconds. You responded with the information, energy, and emotional capacity you had in that moment. That does not mean you handled everything perfectly. It means you are human. A healthier response sounds like this. I understand more now than I did then. That is the difference between reflection and overthinking. Reflection asks, what can I learn from this? Overthinking removes context and replaces it with judgment. It says, you should have known. You should have reacted better. You should never have made that mistake. Overthinking asks, how long can I punish myself for it? Reflection asks, what can I learn from this? Overthinking asks, how long can I punish myself for it? So, how do you stop? First, notice when thinking has stopped being productive. Ask yourself, am I discovering something new or am I repeating the same thought? Productive thinking moves forward. It leads to a decision, a plan, or a clearer understanding. Overthinking takes you back to the same place. The words may change slightly, but the conclusion never does. When you notice the loop, name it. This is not problem solving anymore. This is a worry loop. You do not need to argue with every thought. You only need to recognize what your mind is doing. Imagine 2 boxes. In the first box, place what you actually know. They haven't responded in 4 hours. In the second box, place the story your mind created. They're angry. They're avoiding me. I ruined the relationship. The first box contains information. The second contains interpretation. Your interpretation might be correct, but it is not automatically a fact. Separating the two creates space between reality and fear. Ask yourself, is there anything useful I can do about this right now? If the answer is yes, choose one small action. Send a clear message. Write down your options. Prepare for the meeting. Apologize if you genuinely made a mistake. Then stop. Do not confuse more thinking with more responsibility. If there is no useful action available, your job is no longer to solve the situation. Your job is to tolerate not knowing. That feels uncomfortable. But tolerating uncertainty is a skill. And skills become stronger through practice. Tell yourself, I'm going to think about this for 10 minutes. Write down everything that is bothering you. Then choose one conclusion or one next step. When the 10 minutes are over, return to your day. Your brain may try to reopen the discussion. You can calmly answer, "We already went over this." The goal is not to force the thought to disappear. The goal is to stop giving it unlimited access to your attention. Overthinking pulls you into imaginary futures and edited versions of the past. But your body exists in the present. Notice 5 things you can see. Feel your feet touching the floor. Unclench your jaw. Lower your shoulders. Take one slow breath out. Hold something cold. Go for a walk. Stretch. Listen to the sounds around you. This may sound too simple for such a complicated problem, but sometimes your brain does not need another explanation. It needs evidence that you are safe right now. Choose what to eat without comparing 10 different options. Send a normal message without rewriting it 6 times. Finish a task before it feels perfect. Allow someone to misunderstand a small part of you. Your brain learns through experience. Every imperfect decision that does not destroy your life becomes evidence. I can handle uncertainty. I can survive making mistakes. I do not need complete control before I move forward. You probably would not tell a friend. You were slightly awkward, so everyone must hate you. You made one mistake, so your future is ruined. You don't know what will happen, so you should panic until 3 in the morning. But people often speak to themselves this way without realizing it. Try replacing judgment with accuracy. Instead of, "Everything is going to go wrong," say, "Something might go wrong, and I'll deal with it if it does." Instead of, "I need to know what they think about me," say, "I cannot control another person's private thoughts." Instead of, "I have to make the perfect choice," say, "I will make the best choice I can with the information I have." Overthinking does not mean you are weak. It often means your mind has been working very hard to protect you. It is trying to prevent rejection, mistakes, embarrassment, loss, uncertainty. But protection can become a prison when your brain refuses to let any moment end. You are allowed to leave some questions unanswered. You are allowed to make decisions without guarantees. You are allowed to stop reviewing conversations that are already over. You do not have to solve every possible future before you are allowed to live in the present. Sometimes peace begins when you stop asking, "What if something goes wrong?" and start asking, "If something goes wrong, can I trust myself to handle it?" The answer does not need to be complicated. It can simply be, "Yes, I'll figure it out." Understand your mind. Protect your peace. And whenever your thoughts start running in circles, let the duck explain.